dropped depth charges on me. One ship even launched a torpedo at me." "How awful!" said David. "Tut, my boy," said the Phoenix, "I have no doubt our friend is stretching the truth shamelessly. You need not look so smug, monster. You are not the only one in the war. I have gone through anti-aircraft fire a number of times. Some of it was very severe. In fact, once I had the whole North Atlantic fleet after me," the sea monster interrupted proudly. "And I remember the Franco-Prussian War," said the Phoenix, "which I dare say you do not." "Well, no, I don't." "There you are," the Phoenix crowed. The sea monster, looking rather ruffled, pointedly turned from the Phoenix and said to David, "What should you like to do, David?" David suddenly remembered what they had come for, and the excitement rushed back into his heart. He opened his mouth to cry, "We want to dig for treasure," and then stopped short. Asking for money, he knew, was an impolite thing to do, especially from someone you had only just met, and there was no telling how the sea monster might feel about people nosing around for its treasure. So he looked at the Phoenix and waited for it to speak. The Phoenix caught David's glance, cleared its throat several times, and looked apologetically at the sea monster. "Monster, old chap," it said soothingly, "I am deeply sorry for having doubted you just now. Deeply sorry." "Quite all right," said the sea monster stiffly. "Yes," the Phoenix continued, "we both know that you have passed through perilous times, through dangers which, I must confess, would have left me a shattered wreck." The sea monster sighed sadly, but its whiskers were beginning to rise again. "The monster bears up very well under this fearful strain. Don't you think so, my boy? A splendid example for the rest of us. Magnificent." The sea monster's whiskers were quivering with pleasure. "Monster, old chap, old friend, you are never one to let a boon companion down. If I have said it once, I have said it 100 times. The sea monster, I have said, the sea monster is the helpful sort. Mention the words staunch friend, I have said, and immediately the sea monster comes to mind." The Phoenix reached up one wing and began to pat the sea monster's flipper. "Monster, old chum, well, the plain fact is that we have need of such a trifling matter," here the Phoenix gave a careless laugh, "that I should not really bring it up at all. We need a bit of money." "Oh," said the sea monster. Its whiskers sagged. "Now please do not be offended, monster," said the Phoenix hastily. "After all, you have no need for the treasure, and it does absolutely no good buried under the ground." "It doesn't do any harm there either," said the sea monster. "Really, Phoenix, I never thought you—" "Monster," said the Phoenix solemnly, "this is a matter of life or death." "Life or death? Ha!" "Please, monster," said David, "it really is life or death, because the scientist is chasing the Phoenix, and the Phoenix has a plan to escape him, and we need some money to carry out the plan so the scientist can't hurt the Phoenix." "A few small coins will do," added the Phoenix with a winning smile. "A Louis d'Or, for example, or some pieces of 8. After which you may bury the rest again." "Please, monster," David begged. The monster looked at David, and at the Phoenix, and then at David again, and then at the lagoon. It sighed a very doubtful sigh. "Oh, all right," it said reluctantly. "But for goodness' sake, don't go telling anyone where you found it." "Of course not," said the Phoenix, and David leaped up and shouted "Hooray!" and grabbed the spade and his jacket. "The stuff is on the next island," said the sea monster. "I can swim over with you two on my back. This way, please. We have to leave from the outer beach." The sea monster was a magnificent swimmer. Its neck cut through the water like the stem of a Viking ship, and it left a frothing wake behind. Every once in a while it would plunge its head into the water and come up with a fish, which it would swallow whole. "Should you like some breakfast, David?" said the sea monster. "No, thank you," David answered. "But you go right ahead, Phoenix," he added. "What are you doing?" The Phoenix, which had been walking up and down with its wings clasped behind its back, stopped and gazed over the sea. "Pacing the quarter-deck, my boy. Scanning the horizon. That is what one usually does at sea, I believe." "You'll be wanting us to call you Admiral next," said the sea monster acidly. They steamed on. 20 minutes and 76 large breakfast fish later they sighted the island, a little smudge on the horizon dead ahead. "Land ho!" a voice croaked. "Thank heavens!" David turned in surprise. The Phoenix was no longer pacing the quarter-deck and scanning the horizon. It was sitting limply with its head down and a glassy stare in its eyes. "You had better hurry up," David said to the sea monster. "I think the Phoenix is seasick." "I am not," the Phoenix gasped. "Merely temporary." The sea monster turned and smiled sweetly at the Phoenix. "You'll get used to it in no time, Admiral." When they landed, however, the Phoenix recovered rapidly, and even began to put on a slight nautical swagger. The sea monster humped off down the beach, followed eagerly by the two treasure hunters. In a few minutes it came to a halt and sniffed the sand very carefully, swinging its head snake-like to and fro. It settled on one spot, sniffed it thoroughly, felt the sand with its whiskers, and then solemnly announced, "Here." "Ahoy, me hearties!" the Phoenix shouted. "Turn to, and stand by to splice the main brace. Steady as she goes, mates." David needed no encouragement from anyone. He began to dig furiously. Flashing in the sun, the spade bit into the beach, and coarse white sand spurted in all directions. The Phoenix was quite as excited as David. It danced around the deepening hole with eyes a-sparkle, shouting such piratical terms as "Shiver me timbers," "Strike your colors," and "Give 'em no quarter, lads." Suddenly it began to beat time with its wing, and to sing in a raucous voice, "Cut the king's throat and take the king's gold. Heave ho, bullies, for Panama. There's plenty of loot for the lad who is bold. Heave away, bullies, for Panama." "You're flat on that last note," said the sea monster. "My dear monster, I have perfect pitch." "Oh, yes, you have perfect sea legs, too. Well, how are you coming along, my boy? Any signs of treasure?" David did not hear. In fact, he heard nothing from the first crunch of the spade onward. His education was now richer by this fact. Once you start out after treasure, you can think of nothing else until it is found. The sun was beating hotly on him. Little rivulets of sweat poured down his face and arms. His muscles ached. Blisters were beginning to form on his hands. Heedless of all, he dug on. He had settled into the rhythm of it now, and nothing could distract him. "Tell you what's a good thing for seasickness," said the sea monster slyly. "You take a—" Pretending not to hear, the Phoenix stood first on one leg and then on the other and stared into the sky. David dug tirelessly. Suddenly the spade grated on something solid, and they all jumped. David shouted, "Here it is!" and shoveled up sand frantically. The Phoenix danced around the hole, also shouting. Even the sea monster arched its neck to get a better view. They could see a brass ring, crusted with verdigris, fastened to a partly exposed piece of wood. The sand flew. Now they could see studded strips of metal bound to the wood, and a rusty padlock. And in a few minutes a whole chest, with slanting sides and a curved lid and tarnished brass hinges, was uncovered. David threw the spade on the beach, seized the brass handle, and tugged. It came off in his hand. "Here, let me," said the sea monster. David got out of the hole, and the sea monster worked one flipper carefully under the chest. "Look out," it said, and heaved its flipper up. The chest shot into the air, tumbled down end over end, and split wide open on the beach. David gasped. A dazzling, sparkling heap spilled out on the sand. There were heaps of gold and silver coins, the silver black with tarnish, but the gold still bright. There were pearls, rubies, diamonds, beryls, emeralds, opals, sapphires, amethysts, and bracelets, necklaces, pendants, sunburst, brooches, rings, pins, combs, buckles, lockets, buttons, crucifixes, and carved pieces of jade and ivory and coral and jet, and coronets, crowns, tiaras, armbands, and jeweled daggers, picture frames, vases,